Hi, welcome back to our podcast, Books Don't Review Themselves. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Kim.
And today we are reviewing The Chain. It is by Adrian McKinty. So I'm just going to read the synopsis from inside the book since I have the physical book with me. The morning starts like any other day. Rachel Klein drops her daughter Kylie at the bus stop and heads into her day. But then a cell phone call from an unknown number changes everything. On the line is a woman informing Rachel that she has Kylie bound and gagged in her back seat, and the only way Rachel will ever see her again is if she pays a ransom and kidnaps another child. The caller is a mother herself, whose son has also been abducted, and if Rachel doesn't do exactly as she's told, the boy will die and so will Kylie. Rachel is now part of The Chain, a terrifying scheme that turns parents from victims into criminals, and is making someone else very rich in the process. Rachel is an ordinary woman, but over the coming days, she will be pushed beyond ordinary limits. She will have to make impossible moral choices and do terrible things. The Chain is ruthless, terrifying, and completely anonymous. The rules are simple. Find the money, find your victim, and then commit a horrible act you'd have thought yourself incapable of just 24 hours ago. What the masterminds behind The Chain know is that parents will do anything for their children. But what they don't know is that they may have finally met their match. Rachel is smart, determined, and a survivor. Can she be the one to finally break the chain?
Ooh, we know the answer to that. I was impressed. I do not have children. And I was like, dear God. Yeah, so all for you people, millions of people who have children out there, yeah. Yeah. How about you?
Okay, so full disclosure, I bought this book on my own to read personally. And Kim we were talking and I told her that I bought this book and she's like, oh, I've been wanting to read that book. So we're like, well, let's do an episode. And I got short on time. And so I ended up buying the Audible version too.
You do that all the time.
I know.
So authors everywhere, I get books from the library, but just double buys everything. So it's like we equal each other out.
Yeah. And typically I've been really lucky where a lot of stuff is on Scribe. Mm-hmm. This one was not. The only thing that was on Scribe was a reading copy. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't help me.
Yeah.
And listening to the audiobook of this, I don't know what your thoughts were on reading it, but the audiobook was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because when she would get the phone calls, the voice was different. And it was like when you watch a movie and they have that voice distorter, It was like that. Or so it just made the book 10 times better, in my opinion. I really enjoyed the book.
How many stars would you give it?
I think I would give this...
For me, it's a 4-star book. And the reason why, there's 2 parts to this book. The first part was excellent. If it was just the first part and if they had ended it kind of a little differently right there, I would have given it 5 stars.
That's kind of how I feel about it, is that it's very close to a 5-star book. I think the thing that doesn't make it a 5-star book for me is the ending.
Exactly. And not just the ending, but also the second part of the book, to me, it felt like 2 different stories. Mm-hmm. And the second story was good, but it wasn't as good as the first one.
Yeah. And I enjoyed the whole book.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, the main thing for me was the second part, like you said, probably could have had a little bit more. And then the other thing is the ending to me wasn't as thrilling as the story itself. That's kind of where
it is. And the first part, it went by so fast. I was just like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And just...
I listened to this in a day.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, because I bought it yesterday morning. And I, listened to it on the way to work, and I listened to it at work.
Okay.
And then I stopped for, the afternoon, and then listened to it on the way home. And then while I was doing stuff last night, I listened to it for hours while I was...
And this is a bigger book. It's 369 pages, so it's not just 150 or 200 pages.
Yeah, and I do listen to things at more than just the one time the speed I listen to it, 1.75.
Spiros does that too.
Is typically what I like. If I listen to it at 1, it's either because they're hard to understand or
lots of details and
lots of details, but most of the time that is just too slow for me because I listen to audiobooks pretty frequently.
Mm-hmm.
But
I feel like if we say anything more, it's going to be spoilers, and I definitely want to talk more about the book.
Right.
But
we don't want to spoil it.
we will be spoiling it, but we're going to stop like here.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to add before we get into spoilers?
I guess we haven't really talked about much.
No, we haven't. Just read the book.
Without spoilers. Yeah, it's definitely worth the read.
I
mean, like, some of the authors that had, like,
comment on it,
praised this book is Tana French. I know she's a pretty popular... Steve Kavanaugh, the author of 13.
I still want to read that one, too.
I know. I have it saved on Scribe. I have so many books saved on Scribe. It's ridiculous. There's, like, no way I'm going to... Well, I will, eventually.
You will. You will finish them.
Alistair Burke, the author of The Wife. Ooh, on the front, Stephen King and Don Winslow. They're pretty popular authors. Yeah. So... Well,
basically... Okay, Rachel, that's the name?
Yes.
Or both names. We got Rachel, and what's the daughter? Rachel. I know
Kylie.
Rachel, Kylie, and the uncle is Pete. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a kidnapping, and, you know, people are threatening to kill your child, and you have to abduct. I mean, if I was a parent, I would do this because I would love my child and want to save them. But just, like, reading this, it's like, how do you abduct another child?
And that's the thing is, like, I was talking to my coworker about this who has children, and she was like, I don't know that I could read that. And I was like, well, it's a story, you know. And the thing that she said was that she had made a comment of, like, how do they abduct another child? I'm like, because you don't get yours back. And
or they will murder your child.
Yeah. And she's like, but how could you kill a child? Because, like, there's a part where it's like, if you, for example, if you get a child to get your child back and, like, the parents go to the police, you have to kill that child and then, like,
find a new child.
Yeah, and start over. And so her thing was, like, how could they kill a child? Like, how could someone kill a child? And it's like, but I'm like, I don't think you're understanding. Like, if you don't,
your child dies.
Your child dies. So you will probably kill a child if that means your child lives, you know? So it's like, that's where it's twisted because, like, I'm trying to explain the chain process of this where you don't have your child back yet. You don't get your child back yet until you successfully complete your portion of the chain. And even if you do complete your portion successfully and you get your child back, that if this person does not successfully, the next person doesn't successfully complete, then you're still at risk of dying and so on and so forth. And, like, it's like a chain, like with the links of a chain. So if
one breaks, they all break.
Yeah, you're forever part of this link. So if 5 people down, like, they start not following it and it somehow gets back to you, you're still at risk of your child dying again.
And then also, besides the fact of your child dying, there's also the money factor.
Yes.
They say money is not the reason for this, but obviously money is always the reason for everything, or part of the reason for everything. And then the other thing, too, is they will contact you and be like, we have an errand for you to run besides this. Like, at one point, one of the characters gets assaulted by a person who has been out of the chain, you know, like 5 people back or something.
Right.
So not only do you have money that you have to pay, there's the possibility of your child dying and you having to kidnap another child. But like Jess said, you're always in this chain. So, you know, 2 years down the road, you might be contacted and be like, you need to go rob this bank or kill this child or whatever. So you're stuck in it forever.
I guess I wasn't expecting that part of it. I thought that once you did yours and the person next, like, they did theirs and they were on, like, I figured after a couple links, like, you were fine, but I didn't realize that, like, okay, even 2 years on the road, if it continues, like, people aren't doing what they're supposed to and it somehow gets back to you, then you're back at square one. And that is also, I think, part of
traumatizing.
Yeah, that's also part of the book that's so
twisted and thrilling.
Yeah, because it's like, can you imagine being part of something, going through hell and back to get your kid back, and then to still know that you're really never out of it?
No.
And then, like, the kid, it's like, how do they cope with that? You know what I mean? To know that their life is pretty much on eggshells.
And I thought Adrian did that really well when the daughter, later on in the book, you know, how she reacts to what had happened to her.
Trauma, yeah.
And not even just her, but her mom and her uncle too. And, you know, I thought that was Because, I mean, you don't think about that kind of stuff, you know, especially when you read a book or watch a movie. You know, you have the thrill of the kidnapping and the mystery and the suspense and what's going to happen. Are they going to die? Are they going to complete the transaction? Blah, blah, blah. But you rarely see what actually happens to the people afterwards. And I really enjoyed that part of it. And that part is like in the second part of the book. So for me, that part in the second part of the book was really good. But the part in the second part of the book that I didn't enjoy as much, it just seemed an easy
Was it kind of
end.
leading up to the ending?
Yeah.
part?
And it felt once again like the things were just in perfect order for it to happen. And I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I was expecting more of a bang for the
Yeah.
ending.
And I wish if he would have ended it, you know, at the first part, even if leaving questions, to me, that would have been scary or a good ending. You know, everything doesn't need, the bad people don't always need to be captured. You know, there's a lot of horror in the what if and how does this ever end?
Kind of going back to the whole, like, what happens after all this. The thing is that there's not even really room to heal or whatever. And at one point, the daughter sees a therapist and she had a meltdown with her mom, so, like, because you obviously can't tell anybody about the chain and whatever. So she's like, I can't tell anybody that I was kidnapped. I can't tell anybody about this. I can't tell anybody about any of this. So because she was like, the therapist asked me if I was sexually assaulted. She asked if I was bullied at school, like all the like common triggers. And she's like, but I can't disclose any of that. So it's like, how do you... And she's like, I can't tell them that they could still come back for me. You know what I mean? So it's like that.
And the thing with that too, besides not being able to tell, her therapist could be part of the chain. So if she tells her therapist, they could tell the people that, you know, the directors of the chain, and they could die. So I mean, there's always that fear of, you know, who you are talking to is part of the chain. Yeah, I say read it.
Yeah, I recommend it, but I just was kind of surprised by the ending.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do spoilers now. If you are gonna read this, you might want to stop and go read it and come back and watch. Or if you enjoy spoilers, then enjoy with us. Yeah. Okay, so the part that really annoyed me on the second part is just, I don't remember the people's name. There's Ginger and Oliver? Ollie. So they're twins. And the second part of the book starts out with back like in the 90s or 80s or something, and they're in a commune, and it's like a cult. The children get taken away, the mom dies and stuff, and they get taken away and brought back home, and you see that these children become twisted because of the parent or the father and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, you know, that's fine. But I didn't feel like I needed that. You know, if they would have just ended the first part with just like, they're just fucked up people out there and this chain can go on forever, to me, that would have been more scary, personally.
And I guess I see why they did that, but I don't feel that it was done well. Yeah. That part. Like, I can understand why they wanted that in there because of her FBI connections and because she's in law enforcement and because her father was in law enforcement. And, like, part of it, I can see why they wanted it in there, but I don't feel like the way it was done added a whole lot to it. And some of the stuff that was talked about in these twins' childhood, like, was bad, but I don't feel like it's bad enough to turn them into the psychotic. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the girl, Ginger, I think she was just born psychotic anyway. You know, she's just a sociopath or psychopath or whatever. And to me, that's like the scary part. You don't always need to have a reason why a person becomes that way. Right. People are just evil.
People could just be crazy. Yeah,
exactly. And it felt like it felt like two different writers. It felt like one writer wrote the first part and then a different one wrote the second part, which in a way can be good. I mean, that can be like, well, that writer's awesome then if they can write like two completely different books, you know, different styles. But also when the second part started, it's like I instantly knew where it was going. And I'm just like, there wasn't any surprises. It's not like, oh, you know, she's, it just, I don't know.
Yeah, the ending was not needed work.
And the other thing too, and I was going to go back and read this, but obviously I didn't. So it's towards the end of the book, and it's coming together. So they're sneaking up on the bad people, and there was like a guard outside. Who was this guard? It wasn't Grandpa. You know, it was some other dude that found him first. And I'm just like, where did he come from? Yeah, that was just weird to me. I mean, maybe if I reread it, that will be answered, but that just was bizarre. But so by my facial expressions right now, you're like, why should I read this book? But really, it was good.
I guess maybe we should talk more about the beginning, like some more of the spoilers with the beginning. I thought it was kind of interesting. You think about it with, like, Kylie was a teenager, so she was, like, probably 13, 12, 13. I can't remember if they mentioned the age specifically. And the child that Rachel abducted was 8. Mm-hmm. And to see the big difference in
how they respond to it.
How they handle the situation. Like, Kylie saw a wrench that she was like, I was just happy to be at the perfect angle and at the perfect time with the perfect amount of light. I could see that wrench behind a boiler or something. Yeah. And she ended up hitting one of her captors in the head with it and knocked him out for a little bit. And he didn't have a key or anything on him. And the gun was
not loaded.
Yeah, he had a gun on him, but it wasn't loaded because she was thinking, like, okay, I'll
get the gun
and get out of here. Mm-hmm. Before she found out there were no bullets in the gun, he was telling her, like, do you really think you... And again, the people that are part of this are good people. Mm-hmm. Like, they're researching the people to make sure that the person they're abducting from is not a cop. They're not a news journalist. So they
don't have allergies. The children don't have allergies.
Yeah, the allergies or disabilities. Victims are well researched. So Rachel was specific.
That sounds so horrible. They're victims.
The thing is like, the family that had Kylie was a good family. They're not like bad people, but the wife was like just off her rocker. And I kind of wondered why the dad was so kind of chill with the mom being so high strung. Mm-hmm. But then you find out that the dad is actually the stepdad. Mm-hmm. But I just found it kind of like sad that when he goes down there, like, he's really nice to Kylie and whatever. And so she gets her hands on the gun and she's like, if you don't blah, 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 I'm going to shoot you. And he's like, well, do you really think that you could? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get your wife. And he's like, she doesn't care.
I know. When I read that, I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, he's like, she's not, she hasn't been in love with me for a long time, and I love her, but, blah, blah, blah.
Which, going back to that kind of, if you think about how the author writes that, first of all, I want to know if he has step family at all, like a stepmom or stepdad, saying that, like, a step parent doesn't love their child as much. To me, when I read that part, that's what I got, because the stepfather was very calm and so on and so forth. So part of me was thinking that. I'm just like, well, subliminally, is the author saying step parents don't love their children as much? Or, what? So, I mean, if you want to dig deeper into that type of stuff.
I guess I didn't get that so much, but it was the fact that, like, how sad that he was, and he knew the gun wasn't loaded, but he knew had it been loaded that
his wife would have been like, whatever,
I have my son back. Like,
mm-hmm. The other thing too with the dad, I mean, people do react differently. And I think if Spiros and I were parents and in a situation like this, I could see me being the crazy one and be like, fucking shoot that bitch. I don't give a crap. Whereas I could see Spiros being the more calm one. And, so I can see that. If he hadn't been a stepfather, if he'd been a father, maybe he still would have been, a more calm one too. I don't know. I think Kylie, to me, I don't know her age, but I was thinking she was a little bit older, like, 15-ish or so. It was just interesting to see the different dynamics and the different ways that the children react. And I thought he wrote that very well.
Yeah. The other thing I really liked was Rachel, when she was dealing with her victim, when social media, like, how she, like, was like, because the mom of her child that Rachel was kidnapping, she was researching, and the mother posted constantly on Facebook, like, oh, going out to lunch at 11 at such and such place. And then when she would get there, she'd like check in and be like, selfie, we're here for lunch. And it was like, holy cow. Like, I'm not an avid poster about everywhere that I am. But I know people that are, that's like, oh, we got to check in everywhere we are. And it's like, I really don't.
Or but if after reading this, you really won't.
Or like, if I do, it's like, I don't text like, oh, we're going to be there at 11 or whatever. It's like, I just happen to be with friends and we're going to see a movie. Then I'll, whatever. But to see that they were able to, like, dictate their schedule and their entire life. And it's just like,
and that's true. I mean,
it is 100% true.
Uh-huh.
Like in law enforcement, they tell you like, those stickers on the back of your car that has the families on them, like don't do that because they know.
Then you have a little girl and a teenage son
and like people know how to scope out. And the thing is we make it so easy. Like
the other thing too with vacations, when you're like going to Mexico for a week, the robbers are like, yeah, going to Mexico for a week, coming into your house. Thanks for letting us know.
Oh, 100%. And like, was it this book? Yeah, it was this book where they were talking about like Mark Zuckerberg. Like she had said, like she read an article that Mark Zuckerberg puts a piece of tape over his cameras on his stuff.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, that helps and makes sense. However, people are all like, oh, the government's spying, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, first of all, obviously,
like duh,
they already know everything about you. Like that's why you have social security numbers and all that kind of stuff. 2,
social media.
You make it really easy. Like think about if I don't have any social media at all and I just have a Goodreads account. That in itself, just something so simple of like what I'm reading and whatever, or
and then Goodreads isn't just what books you're reading. I mean, there's also interaction between other people too. There's so many different ways to interact, besides.
Yeah, it's just like, think about the most innocent thing, like Goodreads or even like your Netflix account or whatever, where it's like, you're not necessarily posting like all your life updates or whatever, but it's like, you make it so they can find anything they need to about you. It's not, which is kind of scary, but kind of like, unless I guess I don't care so much as long as like my identity isn't stolen.
Yeah.
But
if you have children,
you should be very careful about what you're posting. And people don't understand that is that like they're posting everything about their child.
Soccer practice. I mean, even if you put their picture without their name, so what? It's just, it's still bad things can happen.
Yeah, there's so many things that people don't think about, like with like bumper stickers and
even if like you just have your friends, if you don't set your Facebook to friends only, and you just let it go wild or have friends of friends, then I could have you as my friend and then one of my friends could be a creepy stalker and they'd still be able to see your pictures and so it's just like, but even after all that, I'm still not going to stop using social media.
No, and the thing isn't so much about stopping it, but it's recognizing that with every good thing, there's a bad side to it. And that you're cognizant of that and you think about that before you post things. For the people that are like, oh, I'm going to post everywhere that I am and the time I'm going to be there and whatever. I'm not someone that's like that. So, and to me, that's just exhausting.
Yeah. And every time I do see like check-ins, on Facebook or whatnot, I'm like, why? To me, I mean, people do it for whatever reason. I don't pull my phone out to check in,
Yeah.
The reason I'm pulling my phone out is either to Google something or to check my message or to take a picture. And usually my picture, like, I end up like posting like 5 days later.
Right.
I don't know. But there are people who are on it all the
constantly,
time.
Yeah. And Facebook I find a little exhausting. Instagram I really enjoy because it's quick.
I think it's a generational thing because I enjoy Facebook more because to me it's not easier because Instagram's very easy, but it feels more interactive to me.
And it probably is.
Yeah, and I enjoy that more. But
where it's like, I really enjoy Instagram for the fact that it's like, I can narrow what I want to see. It's just quicker in my opinion. Like, we were talking about in a previous podcast, an upcoming book that's going to be coming out, I think March of 2020. I saw that by one of the people I follow, one of the booktubers I follow, and scrolling through just like a picture. It's like, so if I don't want to read everything or whatever, I'm not getting this big paragraph of something if I don't want to. It's like, I enjoy the pictures and stuff. I enjoy like, something catching my eye. And then if I want to look into it more, then I do.
And that annoys me because if I'm on my phone and I'm scrolling and I see a picture then I have to back up to see who wrote it or who posted it. And then like if I see a paragraph over there, then I have to like click it. It's too much for me, which is totally stupid, but it annoys me more than Facebook does. But Facebook sucks in numerous ways. One of them being not posting everything. You know, they won't share everything. And also, like, you see something and you're like, oh, yeah, and then you can't find it again. And you're like, for the love of God, where did this disappear to? You know, so it's annoying that way, too.
I guess I like Facebook for, like, closer knit things with like friends that I would keep in touch with or whatever.
And that's what Facebook is trying to do, is get Facebook groups. But I mean, there's so many Facebook groups on there, you know, everyone has a Facebook group, and it's like, dear God, you can't interact in every single one of these
and
groups.
That's part of the things that annoys me and overwhelms me is the amount of groups and that kind of stuff I don't enjoy.
Which Instagram, there you just scroll and you're good.
Or you look the hashtag or whatever and it automatically, like, I don't like the like list of groups on the side, you know, where it's just like, okay, I gotta look at this group and then this group and this group, where it's like I can see everything that I want to see because Instagram tailors it to like what I look at and whatever. So I enjoy that. But kind of off track. But it's just the point of how big of a role social media plays. Like we are officially a Google Home.
Yeah, now you guys got
we got a Google Hub in our kitchen, and we've got light bulbs pretty much throughout most of the house.
Stop turning off the lamps.
Yep. And I found myself, I had to laugh because I was cleaning up the living room before I came here, quick folding some blankets, and we had the family room. Josh labeled it family room lights. So I was like, hey, Google, you know, can you turn off the family room lights? And it turned them off. And I was like, thank you. And I'm just like, do I need to say thank you?
Yeah.
Like,
because when the robots take over the world, you want them to, you know, kind of like you.
Yeah. Think you're polite.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of had to laugh. But it's so like
ingrained in you.
It's so stupid because I'm trying to teach myself, like, we have our laundry room light is just like has a pole thing, and it's such a habit that when we go in there we pull the light. And so a couple times we'll like go and I'll hear Josh pull it. I'm like, you did it, and we're like, fuck. Or he'll go and I'll be like, don't pull it, you know. But I like that when I come home,
you can just say turn on the lights
or whatever, or I can do it from my phone, like when I leave work, and I feel like it's also kind of a signal for the dogs that, like, hey, I'm coming home. That kind of creeped me out when we first got it, because I'm just like, who's watching, or who could be watching, or who could be messing with whatever. But
it's nice. We have them on almost every light, except for going down our stairs. It's a 2-way switch, and we don't have it on that one yet because Spiros needs to do some extra stuff. But he'll go downstairs, he'll turn on, go downstairs, and then he doesn't turn that light off. And it drives me nuts. I'm like, turn the damn light off. But we're so used to just telling her to turn it on and off that since that one doesn't have that switch, it just, you forget.
And what I really enjoy is the capabilities of the light bulb, because the light bulbs we can dim and we can change colors. For the we have not all of our lights, like the most of them we can just change dimness, which I really like for like our bedroom. And then in the living room, one of our lights has one where we can change the color. And so I like it set like a candlelight, and I have it low. So it's just really cozy for like when you're watching TV, but it's like, God, what kind of world do we live in now where it's like, that's like
the norm.
Yeah.
Or like the doorbells, you know, you just.
The Ring doorbells. Yeah.
You can see who's there. And we don't have that yet because we don't have doorbells on either one of our doors. You can tell that they were there at one time, but when we rewired the house, we didn't fix them because I guess people we know who are coming over, they just walk in if they want or knock. I don't know.
And I don't answer my door anyway.
Most people don't, I think, nowadays.
Yeah.
So, unless I know who's coming. Like the mailman always comes around 9:30 in the morning, and he always knocks, because I swear to God, we get packages like every day. So he knocks whenever we have a package. And it's like, it's really nice, but it's like, you don't need to knock, you know? I'm not going to come down and get the package from you. So.
Right.
And I'm glad we don't have dogs, because every day at 9:30, they would be barking, you know? At least our cats are like, whatever, dude. I don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, technology, it's wonderful and it's frightening. And
Well, and the other
yeah.
thing that they tied into this, which I don't know much
the
about,
GPS,
was the GPS stuff
Mhm.
and the
way
dark
they
web
communicated,
and
yeah.
Bitcoin.
hmm
And
So that was kind of interesting to
Yeah.
read about, GPS trackers for kids' sneakers and stuff like that.
which I have heard of.
Okay.
I don't know how common they are.
Or even like put it in their coats or whatever. I think that's a good idea. Or even like Alzheimer's people, in case they leave their house. I think that's a great thing to have,
Yeah.
But on the other hand, then, someone breaks into your phone and they can see exactly where your child is. So,
Well, like, and if you even think about like Find My iPhone or whatever, like that, if you have it on, it's beneficial, but it also is tracking like where you are.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to think of anything else that's kind of spoilery. Oh,
Mhm.
what'd you think about Pete's
heroin addiction. I
thought it was
enjoyed
interesting.
it. I mean, I'm not saying people should be addicted to heroin. I'm not enjoying that part. But what the author put in this book, a lot of things that you don't read all the time or think about, and I really thought I liked it. I thought that was good.
Yeah. I thought that was very, it's realistic.
Mhm.
It really is true. It's like people, drug addiction is such a tough thing because people don't understand that a lot of times, not all the times, like some of the times it is someone who's just like, oh, I'm going to try heroin or whatever.
Mhm.
A lot of times though, is the addiction started
because of pain, either mental or physical.
Like they were on opioids or something like Oxys, or they were on something like Adderall, and then they get pulled off of that because they do become addicted to them because they're highly addictive. And like heroin's the street version of an Oxy, or meth is the street version of Adderall.
You can't get it from your doctor anymore, so you go to the streets to get it.
And
it's worse.
In some cases, depending on where it's coming from and how reliable,
what it's cut with.
You don't know what it's cut with, but in some cases, sometimes it might even be a little cheaper, depending on how much you're using.
Not that we would know or anything, but.
Right? But the thing with him is, it was just like with him being a veteran. It's like
PTSD
veterans are
pain.
pushed opioids significantly.
Everyone is nowadays,
It's actually really hard to get opioids
is
now.
It?
Yes.
Okay.
Like it's very hard to get pain.
So everyone was 8 years ago.
Yes.
And now we're all addicted.
With veterans, I think it's still fairly easy through the VA.
Okay.
But like just the average Joe Blow, like going in for pain stuff, it seems to be really challenging to get pain meds, which
is good. But there needs to be
But
other
the problem
things.
is it's like in situations like you have veterans with PTSD coming back from war and stuff, and then it's so easy for them to get opioids. It's like, well, it's not fixing. It's just kind of a blanket.
Yeah, band-aid over the problem.
So I thought he did a really good job of showcasing that and with the heroin usage and trying to get off the heroin and describing
how he felt on it.
Yeah.
And I thought trying to get off of it, the way it was realistic, so many people try and fail and try again and fail and over and over and over. And it's unfortunately a common occurrence in America and I'm sure other countries. And for me, it's horrible. And I realize this, the thing that gets me with drug users, and I know it's part of the symptoms, and it's like the lying, and just the not caring about anyone else because they need their next fix. And I know it's a symptom of the drugs, but that's the part that just
is the hardest thing. Yeah, is what it does to the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there were perfect examples in here where situations could have gone a lot worse.
Or better.
Or worse or better,
if he wasn't on the drugs.
Yes, or if he wasn't coming down from the drugs or
he wasn't
withdrawing
making
from
good
the drugs.
decisions at various times. So I mean, just even that, and like I was saying before, the after effects after you're abducted or after you have to abduct a child, how you react. I mean, it was just interesting to read about, you know.
Yeah, it was talking about like Kylie was wetting the bed
Mhm.
and having night terrors and like how she slept with 2 towels at her dad's house because
She couldn't tell him what had happened or
Yeah.
why she was doing this, you know, and not going over to her friends' houses anymore because of it, and kind of pushing all of her friends away except for the one boy that was her friend, Seth. I don't remember his name, but yeah, I just
Scotty? I don't know.
something. It was just good. It's, you know, just the way he incorporated all the different pieces. I know he's written a lot of other books. I would enjoy reading some more of his stuff. Definitely.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I would highly recommend it.
Mhm.
But yes, the only thing that was kind of lacking for me was the ending.
Yeah. It's like they had to put a Hollywood ending on, and it's just like, you don't always need to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm hoping that we can have a thriller soon that's like a 5, like a solid 100% like 5, like
We are blown away.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been a long time.
Yeah. This is probably the closest that I can think in the last few months.
And like I said before, I have 100 pages left of The Silent Patient. So that better be good. Otherwise, I'm coming over to your house and I'm riling up all your dogs and then I'm leaving.
Right now? Or like, what are your thoughts right now? Like,
where are my thoughts?
Mentally, where are you with The Silent Patient?
Mentally, I think she's a psychopath and killed her husband. And I think she did it. Okay, that's one thought. Or the other thought is the brother-in-law, who's the lawyer, is part of it. And like, he started a sex thing going on, and then she had to kill the husband.
And how many pages do you have left?
I have 100 pages left.
I am so excited for you to find out the ending.
See, I don't want it to be either one of those. I want it to be like so shocking that I'm just like, what? What just happened?
Are we going to do a podcast on that?
Of course. Why
Okay.
not? Yeah.
Okay.
Next time we record, we can
Yeah,
record
because
that
that was definitely probably one of my top reads. Yes, I am so excited for you to find out the ending.
Like I said, I wanted to finish it last night, but I was just so tired. I'm like, I wanted to give it my full attention.
I am already envisioning the text messages that I'm going to get when you finish it.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with this book?
So
I'm excited. And maybe later today I'll finish it. Or definitely tomorrow. So yes. Cool. Anything else?
That is all I've got for the
Right.
chain. So like, subscribe, comment down below, give us suggestions. Otherwise, tell your friends and come back for more. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.